Let's focus on the other breaking news last night and the quarterback situation with America's team. We know Tony Romo is sidelined for about 7 games at least, so it's Brandon Weeden who will get the nod. And then yesterday, the Cowboys added another signal caller to the mix, acquiring Matt Cassel from the Bills, who was beat out by Tyrod Taylor. Here's Jerry Jones on the situation.
He's a thing of beauty on throwing a football. His passing motion or his arm is, frankly, you won't see a more gifted passer. And power, accuracy, the entire aspect of it.
Okay, so as I was just saying earlier, Brandon Weeden's there. Now they bring in Matt Cassel, who was acquired from the Bills. Tyrod Taylor took the job. Originally, he was with the Vikings prior. Skip, that's the backstory. Oh, let's go to Stephen A. I apologize. Stephen A., do you trust in the Cowboys situation?
Well, first of all, you have no choice but to, because it's a product of injury. So certainly you don't want to sit there. It's not like they said Brandon Weeden, we're going to allow him to start over Tony Romo, because that would obviously be laughable. But because of the injured situation, and he is the backup, you know, and plus, not only that, he works with the first team on Wednesdays, which is the day that Tony Romo takes off. You get all of that. Yep. The flip side to it, however, is I found Jerry Jones' comments just straight comedy, to be quite honest with you. The way he talked about Brandon, we really throw a football and all of this other stuff. Why? Because Jerry Jones, ever the salesman, is trying to sell everybody on Brandon Weeden and what he's going to do for the Cowboys. And then there's no reason for hopes to dissipate in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I find that to be comical. Brandon Weeden is 0-6 in his last 6 starts. His last game as a starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, he lost that game. His QBR was 15. This is Skip's favorite stat. I am correct in saying that, right? Your favorite stat is QBR.
You couldn't wait to share that, 15 QBR. Be honest.
15.
You were excited to share that.
Wait, say it again. 15.
15. A QBR of 15.
On a scale of 0 to 100.
15.
So I just laugh about that. Now, I will say this. I wish him luck. I mean, the brother's birthday is on the same day as mine.
Oh, that
got something going on. I mean,
and everyone will be in Cowboys here again.
Whatever. The point is that, you know, October 14th is a very, very special day. Very special individuals are born and raised on that day. Usher's birthday
are you a
is the
Libra?
same as mine. Of course I am.
Oh, okay.
Usher's birthday is the same as mine. And look at how much of a star he is. I'm on First Take. We know what time it is here. Needless to say, we don't even have to go there. October 14th is a very, very special day. But I will tell you this, Brandon Weeden, it's not so much about him, Skip. It's about the weapons that he's not going to have available to him. That is what I believe could be somewhat problematic for him. I don't expect him to be great. I don't think greatness is in him. But I do expect him to be relatively decent and keep things somewhat interesting for the Dallas Cowboys. So I won't sit there and excoriate the man. I won't disrespect him. I would tell you that he's winless in his last 6 starts. The QBR before the 15, by the way, there was a QBR of 26 in the other 5 starts he had. So it's just not that impressive. We all know this. But he can throw the football. Yep. He is familiar with the system. He does practice with the first team on Wednesdays. Yep. And the combination of all of those things, I think, lends itself towards expecting a slightly better result than some critics would surmise about Brandon Weeden. But I don't expect him to knock my socks off in any way.
Weeden or Cassel? Which way would you go?
I definitely go with Weeden over Cassel. Well, Cassel couldn't beat out Tyrod Taylor or E.J. Manuel. That's number one. Number two, he hasn't done anything in the NFL since his one season when Tom Brady went down in Game 1 against Kansas City back in 2008.
10 in Kansas City.
No, I'm just saying, he won 10 in Kansas City one year, but I've never been sold on Matt Cassel. I'm not sold on him now. He's definitely a viable backup to Weeden. In light of the fact that Tony Romo is out, I do agree with that. But outside of that, there's nothing about Matt Cassel that moves me, so I don't have a problem with Weeden being designated ahead of him.
There we agree. Where I disagree with you is in your view of Brandon Weeden. I like Brandon Weeden a lot, and I'm not being a hypocrite about this. This isn't 20/20 hindsight. I liked him a lot before he was drafted. Unfortunately, by the same Cleveland Browns that drafted Johnny Manziel at 22, same spot.
How funny.
And I believe what happened to Brandon Weeden in Cleveland is Manziel all over again. Wrong place, wrong time, another regime that was about to be completely blown out. you're not going to have much of a shot. Now, why did I love Brandon Weeden? And by the way, I'm going to be on record here. I believe Brandon Weeden is good enough and now comfortable enough in a system that he's been in finally for 2 years under Scott Linehan. We saw the fruits of that when he went 7 for 7 at Philadelphia. While that game was still teetering, it was still a losable game. If he'd gone in and stunk it up with a QBR of 15 in that game at Philadelphia, they would have lost. But they won when obviously he hit Terrence Williams. Byron Maxwell just watched as he ran to the end zone, and that was the ball game. But I'm going to be on record here. I believe Brandon Weeden is good enough to beat Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons and to go to Drew Brees, who has an arm issue, as his New Orleans Saints have unfathomably fallen all the way to 30th in our ESPN power rankings. Are you kidding me? I think Brandon Weeden with this Cowboy team is good enough to win the next 2 games for my Dallas Cowboys, right?
Yep.
Okay, now, when we go back to his last year at Oklahoma State, why did I love him going into the draft? Do you realize he went head-to-head with Robert Griffin III that year and outplayed him and beat him? And he went head-to-head with Ryan Tannehill, another first-round pick, head-to-head in College Station, outplayed him and beat him. He went head-to-head with Andrew Luck in the Fiesta Bowl. You could argue on outplayed, but he won the game in overtime, and I thought he played great in that game. 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. Luck had 2 to 1 interception. But it was the stats you could argue either way. But I thought Brandon stood up to Andrew Luck and ultimately won the game and outplayed him. He also beat Nick Foles that year and Landry Jones that year. So he had credentials to me. Now to what Jerry Jones said. You thought it was straight comedy? I thought it was straight truth. Jerry used the wrong word. He's
then
not.
It wasn't straight truth.
Okay. You won't see a more gifted passer, said Jerry Jones. If he had used the word thrower, it would have worked because Brandon Weeden is a gifted thrower of the football. When you talk about passer of the football, now you're talking about reading defenses, hanging in the pocket under pressure, making the right choice, getting rid of the ball, blah, 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 accuracy, all those things. But just on winging the football, he can make every throw, and he throws a sweet football. And by the way, your Yankees once upon a time drafted him in the 2nd round out of Edmond Santa Fe High School.
Means nothing to me. He elected to go football.
No, he didn't. He went to play baseball for like 4 or 5 years.
Did he play for the Yankees?
Yeah, played in the minor leagues.
Well, that's what I said.
Okay. Well, you tried. They picked him. They made him a bonus,
let me tell you something.
Right-handed pitcher.
I don't know one single individual in the Yankees minor league system. When you ain't a Yankee until you make it up to the majors.
But at one point,
they thought he was good enough. Again. Yeah. Okay, I don't count minor leaguers as a Yankee. Yeah. Let's be clear about that. That's number 1. Yeah. And number 2, Skip Bayless, let's also be clear about something here. You are a bit hypocritical. Allow me to explain to you why that is.
You better be good
because you said it's not revisionist history. You were a supporter of Brandon Weeden coming out of college. Here's why you're hypocritical. Because with everybody else, QBR means everything to you. Why wouldn't it mean that much with Brandon Weeden? Now, I understand your explanations, but that reeks of hypocrisy because when I see a guy with 5 starts in 2013 with a QBR that's at 24, I was wrong. I said 26. It was 24. Okay, the QBR is 24. All right, and then you follow that up with the following year with a QBR of 15. And Skip Bayless religiously lives. I have been up here literally on many occasions pointing to my computer. I have been up here pointing to quarterback rating, and you have repeatedly said means nothing to me. I'm all about QBR. Am I right about that, Molly?
QBR is his favorite stat.
No. When I ask you a question, my dear, a yes or no will suffice. Is it not true that Skip Bayless has shoved aside quarterback ratings in favor of QBR? Yes or no, Molly? Oh, my goodness. You're unbelievable.
Let me answer. Yes.
QBR. Unbelievable.
And your point is what?
Molly.
And your point is what?
My point is, if QBR means everything with everybody else, why is it that it does not? Hold on. You brought up QBR when it came to Tim Tebow in the 4th quarter against Aaron Rodgers. How are you going to ignore QBR when it comes to Brandon Weeden?
You know what?
How?
I don't have time to do this right now, but if I did look up his 4th quarter QBR in Cleveland and those rookie year starts I think you would be very impressed with it.
I'm just
because There's a good story in USA Today
I read
from
it.
his current
I read
coordinator.
it. I read it. It's
Mark
right here.
Whipple
Yeah.
was his coordinator that year.
Mark
He's now
Whipple.
the head coach at UMass.
Mark
okay?
Whipple.
Okay.
Repeat that last name.
Mark Whipple.
I never heard of him, but go ahead. Go ahead.
He raves about what Brandon did that year with obviously a bad football team. And he threw late passes that were dropped against Indianapolis, against Baltimore, and he took Dallas all the way to overtime at Dallas. He had some big games. He threw for 322 at Cincinnati, 364 at the Raiders. He could wing the football for a bad football team.
No disrespect to Whipple. What is that? What his name?
Yeah.
Whipple.
Yeah.
Okay. No disrespect to Whipple. Where's Whipple at right now?
He's the head coach at UMass.
UMass. NFL. UMass. Come on now. I don't want to hear that because, listen, here's my thing. And it's not to disrespect Whipple. I'm sure that he's a good man, and I'm sure that he's going to be a good coach. Here's my issue. I don't take those quotes seriously because if Brandon Weeden stunk up the joint, would there be an article in USA Today of Coach Whipple talking about how he stunk? No. You just want to say something when there's something complimentary to say, or you want to sit there and pump him up. The fact remains is that most of us who have seen Brandon Weeden understand that he is a backup for a reason. And so because of that, all I'm saying is, look, he's surrounded by some good dudes who can play, who are tried and proven, especially if Jason Witten is out there. That's going to be a huge help to him this weekend. But in the end, a quarterback rating of 24 in his 5 starts in 2013 and 15 in his lone start last year with an 0-6 record in his last 6 starts as a quarterback, all right, does not bode well for your guy.
Okay.
These are facts.
Okay, here's my fact.
Okay.
He came for Tony Romo in relief, made 4 out of 6 throws for 69 yards against Washington. Remember when Romo hurt his back?
Yeah.
Then the next week he had to start against Todd Bowles' defense at Jerry World. Arizona was on a roll, especially defensively, at 6-1 at that point. They threw, as you would say, the kitchen sink at Brandon Weeden. He did not handle it well. He stunk it up. For reasons I cannot explain, he never clicked with Dez. They couldn't get on the same page. Well, guess what? Dez isn't there anymore.
So let me get this straight. You're saying he couldn't click with Dez. So the fact that Dez Bryant, who you have proclaimed to be the best wide receiver in all of football, is not there, that's going to be a good thing for Brandon Weeden? You're unbelievable.
Well,
I mean, hey, you're the best. I concede that you're the best. You just said that. No. You just looked on national television and said the best wide receiver in football who is gone because of a broken foot is a good thing for the backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. So in other words,
you know why?
So in other words,
let me educate you about football. The game you have a hard, you struggle to grasp.
All right, no problem. Okay? No problem. You can take those shots. It's all right. I'm here.
Arizona, and you get Dez-centric, and you say, I got to get it to him. I got to get it to him. Wait, is he there? Is he there? Is he there? And you start forcing passes to him that get intercepted. That's a bad thing.
Hold on, wait a minute.
But if you start spreading the ball around.
Who can't comprehend that? But here's the reality, Skip Bayless. If Dez Bryant is the best and Brandon Weeden has the skill sets and, more importantly, the IQ and the acumen you proclaim he has. I'm sorry. You can't figure out that they ain't got nothing to do with reps. You just finished saying
last year he wasn't getting any reps.
You just finished saying from a mental perspective you feel compelled to try and get to Dez Bryant. He doesn't have the intelligence, the intestinal wherewithal to sit there and say, well, you know what? I may not need to be so transparent and obvious in targeting this one receiver. I might need to get it to the open man. You trying to tell me he doesn't have the intelligence to figure that out? And you're confident in him as a quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys?
7 for 7 against the Eagles you picked to win the division.
Eagles team that doesn't seem to be a team who I would not be surprised.
Don't look at me.
Hold on, wait a minute. Well, look, don't look at me when you're talking about the Redskins. They weren't much of a defense, according to you at the time, that he went up against them, all right? But
they were killing Tony Romo.
We have to take a break. But we're going to continue with the Cowboys when we come back. And one thing I want to know from both of you.
You don't need to continue with the Cowboys?
We do.
Why?
There's a new receiver coming to town, for Dez Bryant. I want to know how many games they need to win.
To do what?
To be okay.
To win the division?
With Brandon Weeden. How many can Brandon pull off? And how many do they need to be okay?
I'm already on record. I'm giving him a shot to win the next 2. And that would go a long ways. If you're 4-0, you got a shot.
They're going to be out anywhere from 7 to 8 weeks. Tony Romo's going to probably miss a minimum of 8 games. I'd say Brandon Weeden will probably go 4-4.
Okay.
Well, I would take that
I
to
think
the
the
bank.
Cowboys are going to. All they got to do to win the division is go 7-7 the rest of the way.
All right.
500 football.
4-4, so they'd be 6-4 when about when Romo came back. I'd take that.
Should we get our popcorn ready? Because T.O. is ready and available if the Cowboys need him. We'll get into that when we return.